Hey, thanks for watching this video. My name is Parker, and I'm going to tell you all the games coming out for the Nintendo Switch in February that I think are the most exciting. As always, new games will be announced or dated between now and the end of February, but for now, here's a bunch of games to look out for. And as we get started, I'd love for you to click the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, and let us know in the comments which of these games you're looking forward to, or if there's any that we're missing. You ready? Let's talk about it. I'll go chronologically for all these games except for this first one, just so we can start out with something pretty familiar. One of the big games of the month is obviously Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. We've got some videos on this game specifically, but it's the game you're likely most familiar with as we begin. On February 12th, this port of the critically acclaimed Wii U game Super Mario 3D World is coming to Switch, along with the new mode Bowser's Fury. The main mode has always included co-op for up to 4 players, but it now also features online play, and the Captain Toad levels also have 4-player multiplayer as well. In addition, the movement speed of the game has dramatically increased, and a bunch of other small quality of life changes too. Finally, Bowser's Fury is a mode that's more like Mario Odyssey DLC since it seems to be a sandbox style area. It includes up to 2-player co-op as well, and overall just looks great. Feel free to check out our video on it for more details, but basically this game will be both a sales juggernaut and an extremely high note for Nintendo to kick off their first party releases of 2021. Now, to go chronologically. On February 1st, the 3D open world platformer Glyph comes to Nintendo Switch. You control a scarab-looking mechanical beetle kind of thing, jumping, gliding, and slamming from platform to platform in an ancient temple city. Collect coins, keys, and scarabs, solve puzzles, and defeat enemies to make your way through this modern, unique take on a 3D platformer. The game was previously released on Steam and has generally positive reviews there, so take a look and see if this is the next platformer for you. Nuts is a brand new game releasing on multiple platforms on February 4th, and there was no way I wasn't going to include it in this video. I didn't know about this game at all until I did research for this video. I haven't played it, and the embargo wouldn't even be up if I had, but this is the most wonderful premise I can imagine. There's some kind of mystery or something that needs to be solved, and you need to take stealthy photography and set up traps and stuff like that, I think, all to catch some squirrels in the act of doing some variety of nefarious business. I truly have no idea what's happening here, but I quite like squirrels in real life, so learning that they're fuzzy evil geniuses is, well, it's quite fitting to say the least. On the same day, February 4th, we'll see a much more familiar kind of straightforward game that looks fantastic all the same, called Blue Fire. This is a fast-paced 3D platformer and action-adventure game, previously featured in an Indie World Direct that seems to feature progressively learned new abilities, just like a Zelda or Metroidvania kind of game. This is a darkened world with quests and secrets to uncover and a cool aesthetic. The theming seems to be that you and your story partners are filled with blue fire and are trying to extinguish the enemies with red fire or turn them to the blue side. I'm not entirely sure, but I know the platforming looks fast and frenetic, and the atmosphere is the right kind of dark and brooding, and I like it a lot. Speaking of dark games, on February 11th, Little Nightmares 2 brings dark back to the spooky and eerie level like it did in the first game. To be honest, this is absolutely not something up my alley, as I'm not a huge fan of eerie and scary stuff, but I know a lot of people liked the first one, and this new title has gotten great feedback from previews, and there's even a demo you can check out to play for yourself. It's ultimately a slower going platformer and puzzle game that reminds me a bit of Unraveled 2, but in nightmare form. Interestingly, there is AI co-op, but not actual multiplayer. I kind of thought there was, but I was wrong. So if you're into creepy stuff, I'm sure this is already on your radar, just keep it far away from me. Next on the list would be Mario 3D World, but we already talked about that one, so we're moving on. The week after Mario 3D World is suspiciously light on game releases, but the week of February 22nd hits really hard with a bunch of top-notch titles. Starting out is Persona 5 Strikers. This game's already launched in Japan, but is now coming to the West on multiple platforms. And I'm sure it'll absolutely make up for the fact that Persona 5 isn't actually on the Switch for everyone, right? Oh, no? Okay. But in any case, this is a warrior-style game, but much like Age of Calamity, maybe even more so, it borrows very heavily from its namesake rather than a comparatively tired Dynasty Warriors kind of formula. Basically, think of it as a hack-and-slash action game furthering the Persona 5 story, as I'm to understand it. And besides Smash Ultimate, this is one of the few ways you can play as Joker on the Switch, so seize that opportunity to become a Phantom Thief, I guess. When you think of the Dreamcast, as you probably do every third Tuesday in March, you probably think of Crazy Taxi. Well, Orange One certainly does as well, as they're publishing its spiritual successor, Taxi Chaos, on February 23rd. The name is quite on point. This game, just like Crazy Taxi, is an arcadey experience of picking up passengers who have somewhere to go in the big open map, in this case in New Yellow City, and you've got a ticking clock that gets replenished by successfully dropping them off at the locations they need to be at within the time frame they need to get there. But stringing them together back to back can be tough, and you're knocking over street signs and mailboxes all the way, hence the chaos in the title. Chaos Taxi also has multiple cars you can drive that I believe are unlockable, and to be honest, it's got a whole lot of charm. This really does seem like the appropriate modern take on Crazy Taxi. Also on February 23rd, we'll see Rogue Heroes Runes of Tasos. Again, I knew nothing about this game prior to my research for this video, but this game looks pretty fun. It's got local or online co-op for up to 4 players and has both a set overworld filled with secrets and bosses and the ability to level up your characters, and dungeons that are roguelike, progressively generated, allowing your team to earn cash and experience and stuff. Furthermore, there are several different classes to choose between, like Pirate and Witch and Sorcerer and stuff, each seemingly with their own upgrade path from what I can tell. Also, this game is from Team 17, which is quite a reputable publisher, so that bodes pretty well for this game. Seems like if you enjoy games in the 2D Zelda style but with classes and power-ups, a pinch of progressively generated levels, and co-op, this game might be for you. Later that week on February 25th is Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. So we still don't know every detail on this game, but here's what we do know. This isn't a remaster of Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Goblins. This is a full new adventure, although I suspect we'll see the return of a majority of the most iconic enemies and some bosses as well. Already it's evident that those, as well as weapons and upgrades, seem to be coming over. But I do expect some new abilities, new enemies, maps, and layouts and features. One thing we don't know is the player count. Is this solely a single player game, or might we see a co-op mode too? My suspicion is that I think we will. And if you just fully don't know anything about the originals from which this is picking up, the predecessors in the series are excruciatingly hard and frankly unfair action platformers from the NES and the SNES respectively, and also arcades, which, you know, makes sense with it being so hard. Without seeing it played, I'd bet this game would be the most reasonable entry point for new players, as it probably has a few quality of life changes that make it a bit more tolerable for those that don't have dozens of hours to replay a fairly short game, or, you know, a rewind button on Switch Online. Also, I'm not fully sure I'm sold on the art style, but maybe it'll grow on me. And seemingly alongside that game is the Capcom Arcade Stadium. It doesn't have a date listed that I could find, but I would assume it's also February 25th. This game is a free download, but with that $0, you only get 1943 Battle of Midway, so, you know, a worthy investment. But additionally, you can pay a currently undisclosed amount of money for packs of other classic Capcom arcade games split up into 10 games each, separated by chunks of years. Again, I don't know how much these will be, but Pack 2, for example, includes Strider, Dynasty Wars, Final Fight 1941 Counterattack, Senjo no Okami 2, Mega Twins, Carrier Airwing, Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior, Captain Commando, and Varth, Operation Thunderstorm. Not being much of an arcade guy myself, I don't know what that's worth to me or to anyone else, but I'm all for game preservation, so it's good that there's a way to play these games from your couch, bed, or toilet in 2021. And lastly is my other most anticipated game of February, next to Mario 3D World, Bravely Default 2. Now, I never played the first game or its direct sequel, and at this point I purposefully haven't looked into the lore much so as not to spoil anything, but I do know enough to cover it here and potentially pique your interest if RPGs are your thing. First of all, no, you don't have to have played Bravely Default or Bravely Second to play this game. To my understanding, this is a Final Fantasy sort of situation, or at least is a separate enough story that even if there's a connection to the first, it wouldn't be a distraction when playing this title. And I did play the first demo, but haven't actually played the second one yet, so I think the most key things to know about the game are the following. It is, without a doubt, a very traditional turn-based RPG with just a couple of caveats. The kinds of enemies you'll face, the storyline of a ragtag group of unexpected characters fighting those rats in the first hour and probably destroying other dimensions in the end game, it's all there. If you do enjoy the classic Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, or more recently Octopath Traveler kinds of games, that's what you're getting into here. However, just like with Octopath Traveler, there is a key twist to breathe some new life into potential tired mechanics. I won't go super into the details now, but essentially the Bravely and Default mechanic allows you to alter your playstyle of risk versus reward for each party member, whatever, and depending on the enemy encounter. After having played the first demo, I will comment that the art design, although featuring chibi characters that I'm not super fond of, overall is really nice. The voice acting and dialogue is a little bit cheesy, but all in all, this is going to be a top-notch and very deep game for classic RPG fans. Again, there will surely be more games announced prior to and during the month of February, so feel free to follow me on Twitter @ParkerDeal, and I'll share new games that I find to look good as they're announced or dated. But in the meantime, that's what I think. What do you think? Which of these games are you most excited to play? And are there any, like I said, that I forgot to mention? Also, if you watch this video at whatever point when more are dated, go ahead and leave them down in the comments for other people to look at as recommendations. That would help everybody else out a whole lot. But like I said at the top, thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to click the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. That really honestly helps us a lot. And some of the comments that you leave down there we'll grab and talk about on our podcast this weekend directly to you, which is every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. But I think that's about it for today. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. Peace and blessings.